It is 6:01, June 13th, 2022. A meeting of the Human Affairs Committee is being held here in the Aldermanic Chamber and via Zoom teleconference. The meeting link can be found on the agenda and on the city's website. I don't think we need a roll. Yeah, we need a roll call. Clerk, can you just take a roll call for attendance?
Sure. Alderwoman at Large, Shoshana Kelly.
I'm here.
Vice Chairman, Alderman at Large, Melbourne Moran Jr. Alderman Patricia Klee, I am here. Alderwoman at Large, Gloria Timmons. And Alderman Thomas Lopez.
And I am here. I did hear from Alderwoman Timmons that she plans to come, but she may be a little bit late.
Do we have quorum?
3 out of 5. Yes.
We actually have 6. 1, 2, 3,
6.
Yeah, you're right. 5. Okay, we have quorum, sorry.
Okay. So we do have quorum, just for the record. Also in attendance, Deb Chisholm, Waterways Management, Julian Long, Urban Programs Manager, Tim Cummings, Director of Economic Development, and President Lori Wilshire. Do we have any?
Public comment?
Yep. If anyone wishes to make public comment, please approach the microphone, state your name and address for the record.
And we have 3 minutes if they do.
Well, actually, that's not for subcommittees, but there's no one here.
Okay.
Seeing none, we'll move on to communications.
From Tim Cummings, Economic Development Director, ARPA Fund Framework.
ARPA Fund Framework, can I get a motion to approve?
I'd like to make a motion.
Okay.
I motion to approve the communication submitted by Director Cummings on May 17th, 2022 for the use of ARPA funds as revenue replacement, which will allow for the following initiatives: projects or equipment to be pursued, $10 million, I think that's right, $10 million for the Housing Trust Fund, $500,000 for the backup server IT, $850,000 for fire equipment / alarm, $650,000 for police record management and gate, $600,000 for Main Street study and West Hollis Street study, $1,500,000 for the library park project, $600,000 for the Opticon system, and $200,000 for the ARPA program support, and further request Director Cummings to return to the committee and provide updates.
Okay, like very immediately, because our next item of business is that. Without objection, we'll accept a place. Can we do that without objection?
Yes, we can do that without.
Okay, without objection, we'll accept that and place it on file. And there's another item.
Yep. From Deb Chisholm, Interim Urban Programs Manager, FY 2023 HUD Annual Action Plans Recommendations.
Without objection, we'll accept the communication and place it on file. Unfinished business.
Unfinished business, we have R 22-025 as amended, authorizing the mayor to apply for and expend the Community Development Block Grant, CDBG, and Home Investment Partnership Program funds for fiscal year 2023.
Okay. Director Cummings, did you want to come up and make a presentation, or did anybody want to present on that specifically?
I did actually have 2 points, if I may.
Yep.
One.
Want to come grab a seat?
Oh, thanks.
We should probably, we just opened this up, the CDBG, and are you here for CDBG, or you're here for the ARPA? So we should put this, well, we didn't make a motion on it, but we could have Alderman,
sure.
yeah, we'll just have Alderman listen to me.
No,
Keep trying to demote you.
I'll make a recommendation for final passage. Director Cummings can present on it, and if any of the other city staff wanted to participate to discuss in the CDBG discussion, we can do that.
He's, Director Cummings is here for the ARPA though, not for the CDBG.
Okay.
So let's back it up.
Yeah, go back up one, I guess.
Yeah, let's go back up to communications.
Thank you. If I may, Mr. Chair, I'm just wanting to ask a clarification. I had asked that it would be a recommendation and not an accept and place on file, so I'm not sure how your outline may read this evening, but why I'm here this evening is because I was looking for approval at the full Board of Aldermen. I believe this was, the communication was referred to this committee for a recommendation.
Mhm.
And I'm here this evening to give you a quick update on all the work that that went into us developing the proposal that is before you this evening, and I will keep my comments brief if I could have a few minutes.
Yeah, and what I would suggest is we go back to the CDBG after Director
Yes.
Cummings, because I believe President Wilshire referred that back to the board, so that should have been on our agenda. But it's on as a communication, so that's where the confusion came from, I think.
So I guess, I believe you placed and accepted it on file. I think I would need a motion for a recommendation.
Right, I made the motion, I made the motion for recommendation to approve the communication submitted by.
Perfect.
So I will repeat my motion if that's okay with you, Mr.
So
Chairman.
we approved the communication, and then under unfinished business R22-025, That's the CDBG.
Yeah.
which is, I thought, what we were talking about now, and what I recommended final passage for.
Right.
So,
Madam President,
why are we out of
we
order?
can,
Are you taking something out of order?
communication came first.
Okay.
There's a motion there to approve the communication submitted by. There's no motion for us to refer it to the.
Well,
Board of
I
Aldermen.
think we missed the chance for Director Cummings to do it smoothly, because I did make a motion for CDBG, thinking that you were coming up speaking to that, because when I asked if there was any objection to placing it on file, there wasn't any. So I guess if the committee doesn't mind, we'll just add Director Cummings to making a presentation briefly.
And then we need to make a motion to refer it to, that's what you're asking, is that not correct?
My understanding is it'll appear as a communication for approval at the full Board of Aldermen tomorrow night, verbally. A report would be made. That's,
Okay, Alderman Lopez.
Yeah, Alderman Kelly?
So I'm looking at the memo, and when we appropriated the funds it had an R21-167. I don't think we can amend previous years. So wouldn't it need a new amendment to the resolution if we're changing how it's being funded?
no.
No.
That resolution has been passed. That was for an acceptance of the funds, which
Okay.
you accepted back last year.
Yep.
I'm gonna say June, July, or something to that effect, back in 2021. I'm here this evening really just to provide you with an update of how that $16 million would be spent if everyone is in agreement. And that's really what I was hoping to cover this evening.
Can I just
Yep.
have 1 moment of clarification?
Before we get into more clarifications, why don't we just let Director Cummings make his presentation? Because we're getting caught up in form a lot, and I get that we received a note, but we can just add this, if the committee all knows what's going on, we can just have Director Cummings make his presentation. Please proceed.
Yeah, okay, thank you, happy to. So I was before you in August of 2021, August 26th of 2021, which started the conversation of the ARPA funds. At that time, we had only had about $18 million of the money come into the city. We've since had another $8 million come into the city. So we have just over $16 million. We set aside $1.2 million back last fall, late last summer, for the usage of school lunches. And so we had some remaining funding available for differing uses. And I had appeared before you at a special Board of Aldermen meeting, and I gave a presentation which basically outlined some uses that are allowed and some uses that are not allowed for the funds. I talked about how we were going to do a community engagement exercise, and we went through that initiative, and I reported back to you at the Human Affairs Committee, actually on October 12th of 2021, where I gave you an update on the community engagement that was done. In addition to that, we developed a webpage on the city. We developed a a form. We solicited a lot of input, as well as providing 2 or 3 public meetings to discuss how the monies could be spent. At the conclusion of this public outreach engagement, again, around mid to late fall of 2021, really the issue of housing rose to the forefront. That's what we heard from most people. And so I started developing a plan based off of the proposal and presentation I gave you in August, where we said that we wanted to put a bulk of the funds towards a major initiative. And so tonight I'm here to make sure everyone is in agreement and there's concurrence on how that little less than $16 million is going to be used. And I'm suggesting we put $10 million into a housing trust fund. I believe the memo that is before you, dated May 17th, 2022, speaks to all those individual items that I just mentioned right now. And then it further goes on and talks about some other needs that we have. I reached out to all the various community group stakeholders that had an interest in this area. Just had a discussion about what we could use the monies for, what would be eligible, what would not be eligible, how we could potentially make it work based on U.S. Treasury's guidance. And so beyond the $10 million that I just mentioned and the $1.2 million for the school lunch program, we had some other items as well. As noted in the motion, $500,000 for IT for a backup server, $850,000 for fire equipment alarm replacement for the fire department, $650,000 for a gate and record management, a study of both Main Street and West Hollis Street for $600,000. The library park project is one where we knew we weren't able to afford doing that project in a previous budget cycle, so we got put off. It is an eligible expense, so I'm suggesting that that is something that we look at using the monies for. And then lastly, an Opticon system, which is a public safety issue that has been discussed actually most recently at the infrastructure committee meetings. So that, coupled with the fact that we have administrative support, one of the things that we did last December was we procured an ARPA consultant to help us. That for $200,000 gives us total ARPA spending of about $16,100,000 and a balance of $38,000 left that we will have to program at some later date. But as of right now, I believe we've done a pretty good job of spending the money. In theory, we do have to spend this money by 2026. There's a big time crunch in being able to use this money, or it gets sent back to Treasury. So I really want to continue moving this initiative along. And with that being said, I'd ask for your favorable consideration. Thank you.
Oh, I can't raise my hand because no one can recognize but me. Can you tell me a little bit more about the Opticon? I want to make sure that it's the system that the fire department uses to change lights as they approach them? That's
correct. It came up a couple months back, and it wouldn't be just for the fire department. Transit can use it, DPW can use it, police department can use it. It's a citywide approach where anyone could use it to be able to move through intersections more quickly, specifically if there's a public safety crisis or emergency. That is the thought process behind it. For context, if I remember right, and we're remembering the same discussion, at the moment the fire department can go in a straight line, but they can't make a turn. Something to that effect, where if it's the right conversation, it came up in infrastructure when we were talking about downtown, and they had said there was a slight delay in their response time, a matter of seconds, with the barriers that were present. But they also attributed that more to the Opticon system being out of date, and so this will resolve that issue specifically, as well as other ones. That's correct, Mr. Chair. Our current Opticon system is not only dated, it's also very limited, and this would be definitely an enhancement. Okay, I just wanted to clarify that because that was a very important comment that was made, and I think it's been taken very much out of context by other parties, but it was an area where the fire department was asking for equipment that was more modern that would enable them to respond in an emergency, and it was sort of getting politicized. So I'm glad we were able to hear what they were actually saying with that. But there's also fire alarm equipment on there.
Can you tell me anything about that?
Yeah, I would defer to the fire department for the details of that, but as I understand it, it's to upgrade current fire alarm wirings to the centralized firehouse,
Okay,
like cables that run through the city.
okay, and I know I'm probably digging a little deep here, but when you say centralized wirings, does that mean we won't be as reliant on the Court Street location,
No,
or?
it would be either to Court Street or to Lake Street, as I understand it.
Okay, because I'm under the impression that there is an issue with most of the wires go through the one bridge we have on Main Street, but I thought we put new ones in, and then there was also that older switch box that needs relays.
Right, and we're looking to upgrade. My understanding is it'd be to make some upgrades to that type of equipment.
Okay. Any members, Alderman Kelly?
Thank you, Director Cummings, for being here and working through this framework. I have a bunch of questions, and I think I'm feeling a little uneasy about not knowing very specifically what these programs are, like $850,000 for our fire equipment. It's a very expensive police gate. So I guess I expected the people who could talk to these projects would be here. For example, one of my concerns was about the library park project. I think the project to fix outside was well-intentioned and well planned out, but I've been hearing over and over again the last few months how much the building needs infrastructure work, and I'd love to hear from Jen McCormick about, is that the priority or is the building the priority? Because I've heard from multiple people that our library needs some infrastructure work. There wasn't a question there. It was mostly comment, but I think the comment was, I wish that there was more context to these, and I didn't realize we were trying to push this through for an approval today. So if we had the opportunity to bring people in to talk to these specific things, is that going to hurt your timeline here?
Well, it would certainly delay it. I mean, what I would recommend I'm happy to bring people in and to have them speak about specific items. I guess my question is it more for informational purposes, for education and background, or is it you do have a substantive concern about some of these requests and you'd want to hold? Because if that's the case, then I guess we could hold this evening and continue this conversation another day.
I obviously don't want to get in the way, but I think I can't tell you if I have a substantive concern until I know what they are. I mean, until tonight, they were line items on an Excel document. So my feeling would I'd love to have a little bit more background on these.
Would it be possible, Director Cummings, to have the library director write a memo expressing her view, and then if we moved forward at the board, could we amend it to leave some money unprogrammed, or do we have to pass this with the full recommendation?
You could leave money unprogrammed. You could, in essence, leave some money unspent. And I appreciate the comment that is being made this evening by Alderwoman Kelly, because my whole concern is that we would start moving forward with some of these initiatives, and some of the members of the Board of Aldermen actually wouldn't necessarily understand what we were doing. You've already accepted the funds, and it's technically we could use these monies now, and I did not want contracts to appear before you and this body say, oh, I didn't realize we were doing this, or how are we doing this? So the conversation we're having right now is the exact one I wanted to have, because I want to get over that hurdle so we can move forward with some sort of a agreement or consensus or uniformity. So, happy to come back if you want to hold on certain line items, I guess, and I ask that you approve the other ones that are not of interest, or happy to do it however you'd like. I will say the $10 million for the Housing Trust Fund is a whole separate other issue. I mean, that doesn't have any real programming to it, because this is really just a transfer from one grant account to another, basically holding chamber that we have, another savings account that we have here in the city. It's a trust fund. And there isn't a lot of details to that because as you all know, we just actually put a housing trust fund committee together that would be charged with actually developing the various programming and whatnot to that.
Alderman Clee?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our notes here do want us to make a motion one way or the other, and we did, when you said without objection, that was for the next piece of document and not for this particular one. But if we do make a motion, we would have to be very, and not bring everything forward, would have to be very specific. I guess I'm asking that, to state exactly which items we want to bring forward. Would it be better just to allow this motion to go forward and ask Director Cummings to have these individuals at the Board of Aldermen? Because they're going to all have to be educated, or we don't want to do that.
Can I-
Yes, please.
Alderman-
please.
President Wiltshire.
Thank you. Can I weigh, what's the rush? I mean, why are we taking this up tonight and then gonna pass it tomorrow night? Seems like kind of a,
You can do it later. You can do it in July if you wanted to.
I'd be way more comfortable with that.
We could do it at the July meeting.
I would be very much more comfortable with that.
Director Cummings, this isn't gonna hold up the rail trail project, right?
It's not on there that I.
No, that one's not on the list here.
Oh, I thought it was.
Um,
I was reading Library Walk and I misunderstood
um,
or something.
Mr. Chairman?
Can I just look at this?
Sure.
Oh, I see. Okay, I was looking at the park project. Alderman Clee.
Thank you. I agree with what the recommendation from Madam President relative to this. How would we go about scheduling this? Would we just bring this to the next Human Affairs Committee with everybody coming doing a presentation, and then the following Board of, do we know when the next Human Affairs Committee meeting is? I know they've been changing those.
We did request switching to the second week, but that would put us in between two Alderman meetings, not
Right.
on the outside of them.
And in July, we only have one aldermanic
Right.
meeting,
the 12th.
the 12th.
I'm just gonna look ahead just to make sure we know.
So that would put us on the 11th for Human Affairs, and then 12th for the meeting, the day before.
That's what our
That would
typical
work.
schedule is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would,
Yeah,
Okay.
as long as we suspend the next night.
yeah.
So it still ends up before the July Board of Alderman meeting, but that also does add a little bit of a time turnaround thing where we would recommend it here and then the public would just find out about it?
We would do the presentation, correct? Am I correct that we would have people come, explain these at the Human Affairs Committee meeting? We would make whatever recommendation we would make, and then push it to the Board of Aldermen the very next day.
Yeah, and so that, my only comment is that turnaround, President Wiltshire.
It's kind of the same thing,
It's
but it's
what he's
not.
Except for you'll have
Right
direct,
now.
you'll
But
have
we'll
the
have,
directors
we'll
there.
have a presentation.
Yes.
Don't mean to talk out of turn here, but we would have a presentation where we don't have that now.
Mhm.
But it would still be the very next day.
Or you could change your next, sorry.
Alderman Wiltshire.
Or you could change your next meeting to an earlier date so that it's not bumping up against the full board meeting. So people would have a chance to read the minutes and figure out, you know, what they need to figure out.
That's problematic because that Monday is July 4th, so can't use that Monday.
Doesn't have
You
to be
could
a
try to pick a
Monday.
different day of the week.
Yeah, that's what I was suggesting.
Additionally, though, it's worth pointing out that the memos will be all out today and on the next meeting at least, that Director Cummings has put forward. So it wouldn't be coming out of nowhere. It would just be a presentation for the board members who want to know more about it in advance of that board meeting. Oh, Alderman Wiltshire, sorry.
It's a lot of money, let's face it, it's a lot of money. And I'd be a lot more comfortable having more details about how it's being spent. I'm not opposed to any of it, I just want more information.
Yeah,
So-
there's consensus there. I'm just wondering if it's the impact of, if we had reviewed it today without details, that's one problem. But the other thing is not giving people time to respond to the details that are presented because what was being asked here was it to be accepted tomorrow. If we move it to July, then we have more time for presentations. We still have a one-day turnaround between the Human Affairs and then the Board of Aldermen. but there's a lot more lead time from the memo that Director Cummings has provided, which identifies those different programs. So it's not perfect. We could do an earlier Human Affairs Committee meeting if the board is willing, but that would also be a compressed week where there's 4 days to do it. Alderman Kelly, sorry.
Yeah, I was just looking at the calendar and wondering if even
The 7th.
on a second one in this month, so the 20th or the 27th, I'm trying to see when our budget meetings are at the same time.
I would think you should, I'm sorry.
Mhm.
There's like no
Thank you.
time
I would
constraint.
recommend July 7th, because at that point, the budget is beyond, and
July 7th, the budget meeting.
you have a
Or a
budget
special
meeting.
board, or that's the hearing, the 27th is the
Okay.
hearing, okay.
It's the budget meeting.
I don't
That
have
is
that one on
the
my calendar
meeting.
yet, I guess.
What's the 7th, a Thursday?
Mhm.
Yeah. The only other date is the 5th, if we go to July.
7th works. As long as we
Would
get
that
it
work with
space.
you?
It works for me, as long as there's nothing already booked. We can at least put our
I'll check with Donna
plan in the hat.
on the 5th.
So our tentative plan to Director Cummings is we would try to have the presentations on that day, and then that would give us enough time to have it before Board of Aldermen. And if that plan fails, then we could have it on the 11th where we're scheduled, and then we don't have a day, but at least we have all this lead time for people to kind of follow along.
Yeah.
Is that?
Thank you. Just in all fairness to Director Cummings, the memo that he did send does have the spreadsheet with all the numbers on it and so on. I mean, I know it doesn't have the personnel and the staff here to explain what each of these are for, but he did outline that in his memo. But I do understand exactly what Alderwoman Kelly was commenting about the library. If they had their druthers, would they rather this over that? And then, but my question would be to Director Cummings, would that be as acceptable to do the outside or the inside?
I don't.
As far as ARPA funds were concerned,
Yeah,
so.
I don't know. I think either would be eligible. I believe there's a study going on right now.
There is.
I would recommend that you wait till that study gets done before you look to spend any money on the inside of the building. Because that would actually tell you the priorities and how much you might need to spend. I hear what the group is saying about spending the money on the building. I also know that last year at this time, there was a lot of discussion about the library courtyard and grounds itself. And so I know that it's taken us a year just to get to this point here now. So that's one of the reasons why the library park project was added to this as one of the uses, because it was eligible, and we heard very clearly of the needs. We have many needs here in the city, and this is just a drop in the bucket of what we could potentially use the money, these monies on.
So I would amend probably the committee's, instead of, with a favorable recommendation, we could just accept it and place it on file pending further action.
I would just continue. Why don't you make a motion to table until the
Mm-hmm.
next.
So we would be tabling your communication, which we want everybody to read.
And can I
What-
just,
I'm sorry.
no, my apologies. I just want to make sure I'm understanding correctly. You would like everyone here that has an interest in a project, so Opticon, Library Park, Main Street at West Hollis Street, Record Management, Fire Equipment, and then Server? Or is there any particular ones that you are more interested in than others?
I would prefer all, sorry. Alderman Lopez.
Alderman Kelly, sorry.
I mean, I think we can have somewhere in between here, but I think at least a paragraph and a new memo that tells me what these are and what they're planning on doing. I mean, one of them just says Main Street and West Hollis. So I think I think library definitely. I'd love to hear about the fire equipment, because you sounded like you weren't exactly sure as what that is. So I think if you can get the information and the things you feel confident explaining, great, and then the ones that seem like they're more robust or might have questions, it would be lovely if they could join us.
Absolutely.
Okay. So again, for procedural purposes, I know that Director Cummings has a plan in place and we have a date. Do we want to accept the communication or not? Because this is just accepting a communication.
This is to approve, according to this, what I read was to approve the communication submitted by Director Cummings. The acceptance of the communication is actually for the HUD Annual Action Plan.
Okay.
There was no without exemption. This was an actual motion to approve the communication submitted by Director Cummings. Should we, Madam President, do you know if we can table a communication?
Yeah.
I would
yeah,
think
see why
so.
not.
Yeah.
So may I?
Do you have a different thing than me? Because all I have is accept.
That, right here, motion carried. That's what I was trying to clarify. Was
Right.
it, those are
Without
two, no,
objection to accept.
but that's for this one. This is for the previous one.
Okay.
That's what I was trying to clarify with you.
All right, then yeah, we can just table it.
Okay. Should I make that motion, sir?
Yes, please.
Okay. I motion to table the communication submitted by Director Cummings on May 17, 2022 for the use of ARPA funds as revenue replacement, which will allow for the following initiatives: projects for equipment to be pursued, $10 million for the Housing Trust Fund, $500,000 for the backup server IT, $850,000 for fire equipment / alarm, $650,000 for police record management and gate, $600,000 for Main Street study and West Hollis Street study, $1,500,000 for the Library Park project, $600,000 for the Opticon system, and $200,000 for the ARPA program support, and further request Director Cummings to return to the committee and provide updates.
Okay. So,
The motion is to
it's the
table.
table. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? And the motion is tabled.
Thank you.
With the recommendation that the next meeting, we have people come, yeah.
Yep, I think that's the plan. So unfinished business?
Okay, so unfinished business, R 22-025, as amended, authorizing the mayor to apply for and expend the Community Development Block Grant, CDBG, and Home Investment Partnership Program funds for fiscal year 2023.
All right. Ms. Chisholm, and I remember his first name and his last name. Would you like to come up as well, just to present or discuss?
Do you want me to do the motion first, or do we get the presentation first?
Just do the motions, we can discuss it,
Okay.
and then the presentation.
Mr. Chairman, I motion to recommend approval of R-22-025 as amended.
Okay. Ms. Chisholm, do you want to walk us through this?
I would like to walk us through this. Deb Chisholm, I'm the interim manager for urban programs, but I do want to actually introduce Julian Long, who is the new actual department manager for urban programs. So I brought him along for the ride tonight, which will be short. But I just wanted to say we've had a couple of meetings now, and the resolution as it currently stands as amended will need to be changed somewhat based on the actual allocations we did receive from HUD. At the time that we had made that amended resolution, we had not yet received the allocations. So once we received the allocations, I submitted a memo to you all on the 6th of June with what I thought were some recommendations on how to actually allocate the funds that I thought would be in the best interest of both the Urban Programs Department, because as you know, the department is fully funded by these federal dollars. So funds that would be used for administrative costs for the department, as well as the programs that had submitted their applications, both municipal and nonprofit. So there are some real minor tweaks. I know that previously in some of our discussions here, the discussions really revolved around the desire to maintain the current amounts for each of the nonprofits and the municipal project as originally submitted. And in light of that, the in order to make sure that we're staying within the caps for the administrative costs, the spreadsheet that I provided to you with that memo essentially spells things out. The one major difference that you had all brought up in one of our initial meetings was what to do with the leftover salary from Carrie Skeena's departure. So she was gone about 5 months before Mr. Long came on board. Those funds, as I had spoken with Rose Evans in finance, she will evaluate how much is left after the end of our fiscal year, so sometime in the month of July, and she'll be able to tell us exactly how much money is left over. Once we've figured that part out, my thought was to come back to you with a new resolution that will allocate those salaried funds out of the administrative line item and put them, basically to put them into one of the CDBG line items. So I think that in the memo that I had put together, the thought was to reduce the amount that's currently in there for the rental program. And then once the additional salary amount becomes available, we could then put the funds into that account. So it would be temporarily slightly underfunded, although that rental improvement program has about $128,000 currently in it. So it's still has money available for any applicants that would be coming and looking for those funds.
Alderman Clegg.
Thank you. Would you like me to read the, we're going to have to, I'm assuming we're going to have to amend what we've done, and I can read each of the line items and the changes thereof. Would we do that as
If
part
you
of
want to
it?
read the ones with changes.
Yes,
But
just the ones with
I also
changes.
want to do some housekeeping.
Sure.
Alderman Dowd did come in during the last conversation, and I don't think I ever acknowledged that, so,
Okay.
sorry, Alderman Dowd.
Make sure I put that in the note here. Okay, I can read the changes from what we had recommended originally. The entitled award estimate was $664,000. The new actual is $645,484,000 with a minus of $18,516. That gives a total available of $18,516 less than what we had originally expected. The public service estimate, the 15% cap, was $99,600. It is now $96,822.60, giving us a difference of $2,777.40. The UPD administration, the 20% cap, was $141,800. It is now $138,096.80, with a difference of $3,703.20. The rental improvement program was originally set at $50,000. It has been reduced to the recommendation is to reduce to $37,964.60, giving a difference of $12,035.40. That gives us a subtotal difference of $18,516. The home grant estimate, we had put that in as $427,000. It will now be $579,305. An additional difference of $152,304. The administration was $42,700. I believe that is the 10%, is that correct? Make sure I have that right. The administration cost is 10% of the home grant. And now it would be $57,930.40 with an additional $15,230.40. The CHDO was $64,050. It is now $86,895.60 with a additional amount of $22,845.60. The home buyer's assistance, we had funded at $55,000. We are, the recommendation is $0 at this point, giving us a difference of $55,000. Make sure I have this right, line item, affordable housing development was set at $265,250. It will now be $434,478, meaning an additional $169,228 for a total home of originally was $427,000, a new recommendation of $579,304, an increase of $152,304. Did I have that correct, Ms. Chisholm?
This is Deb Chisholm, yes, that's correct.
Okay, thank you. So those are each of the line items.
Alderman Kelly.
I would just move to approve the changes that were put in front of us. Thank you very much, Ms. Chisholm, for putting them together.
Oh,
It makes a lot of sense.
Okay. Anyone else have any questions or comments? All right, then, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, motion carries. New business resolution?
Yes. R 22-037, relative to the acceptance of $1,031,630 from the State of New Hampshire Department of Health and Human Services into various public health and community services grant activities.
All right, and this was previously discussed. Is there anyone here to present on it?
Director Bagley's here, sir.
If I could have seen further, I would have noted that for the minutes as well.
She was hiding behind
In plain sight, yes. Director Bagley, if you want to give us a rundown of what we're trying to approve here?
Yes, Bobby Bagley, Director for the Division of Public Health and Community Services. This is funding that has been awarded to the city for the Community Services Department to be the lead Regional Public Health Network Services Coordinator and provide services that focus on coordinating a range of public health initiatives that utilize our 10 Essentials of Public Health Services framework and strategic prevention framework to ensure that the communities in our region are protected and the health and wellness of those communities are improved through the work of the Emergency Preparedness Program, our Substance Misuse Prevention Program, Public Health Advisory, the COVID support, continuum of care facilitation, support from our community health workers to continue working on health disparities, overdose prevention and response, as well as our Public Health Advisory Council. So this funding actually supports 5 full-time FTEs and a 0.125 FTE of our epidemiologist. We've had and have been providing the services for the Public Health Network Services since 2008 when they were first created. Sorry, not 2008, 2013 when they were first created. And so we will be continuing that work with a couple of other funding to continue to protect against COVID, increase vaccinations, and then also to look at what's happening with our overdoses in our community by being able to increase what we're doing with substance misuse prevention and behavioral health alignment with our staff.
So just one clarification, when you say continuum coordinator, you're referring to the substance use disorder continuum and not the
Yes, this is
funded Greater Nashua Continuum of Care?
correct. So our Greater National Continuum of Care focuses on homelessness and housing. The funding that comes under the Public Health Network Services is for the continuum of care facilitation. which focuses on substance misuse prevention, services, resources, and for care, treatment, and prevention.
And can you give us a general idea for the pessimists among us, why Nashua wants to be a regional health, public health leader instead of leaving all of these towns around us to their own devices?
Well, we have, so Nashua is situated very nicely at the southern part of the state, but we have many resources that are here and services that are provided that individuals that are in our surrounding towns who actually come to Nashua for these services, which includes our restaurants, our hospitals, our community-based agencies that provide services through the region as well. So it makes sense for us as a public health entity to be able to align and be able to provide services to individuals that come into the city. Some of the work that we do does require us to go into those towns to help do the education and the awareness for prevention of substance use disorder overdoses, as well as protecting everyone from infectious diseases. So we don't really have, even though we have separate towns, diseases, infections, overdoses don't look at border lines and say, well, I'm not going to cross the border from Hudson to come over to Nashua because this is a different town. And so what it allows for us to do is to work with our regional partners to help support their efforts as well. So we sit as the chief public health strategist and provide technical assistance as well as other informational support to these towns to protect the towns and to protect Nashua.
So until we can build a dome, we have to treat ourselves as we live in an ecosystem?
Exactly.
Okay. Questions from the committee? All right. Then without objection, well, actually,
We need to do a motion.
we'll now hold a vote for the motion on the tape, on the floor. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? All right. Thank you for your presentation, Director Bagley.
Thank you, Chairman.
New business ordinances?
None?
Table in the committee?
None.
General discussion? None.
Public.
Public comment? Any members of the public like wishing to make a comment? Step forward, give your name and address.
And there's no one online either.
All right. Seeing that there's no public comment, any remarks by members of the Board of Aldermen or this committee? Seeing none. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Alderman.
So Alderman,
Kelly.
sorry, Kelly, you gotta wave it, a motion.
You gotta give the vice chair something. Move to adjourn.
She puts
Oh,
the
she-
vice in vice chair. Move to
She's
adjourn?
moving to adjourn.
All right, then all those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. Nay. And we are adjourned.
6:49 PM.